Hi, I'm Justin Younts. Welcome to the DMF. This is the complete interview. Welcome to the DMF, Discovering Meaning in Film and Acting. I am thrilled to welcome an award-winning casting director from Telsey Company who has casted both Wicked films as well as Mean Girls and many other films. Please welcome to the DMF, Tiffany Little Canfield. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Justin.
Well, thank you. So my first question is, where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Sacramento, California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How did that influence you as a casting director?
I would say I went to Sac High, which
Mm,
had at the time an arts magnet program. So we had a pretty good drama program, frankly. And I got bit by the bug and acted in a lot of plays and, took it very seriously, studied. I actually think they had a good basic foundation of American classical, training,
yeah.
because though I went on and trained further, I never learned anything like what we were doing was wrong or my process was mixed up. It was actually, I think, a very basic version of it, but
Yeah.
it was a good foundation. It's actually kind of referenced in the film Lady Bird. If you saw
Mm,
Greta Gerwig's masterpiece, Lady, she really nails Sacramento. And when she says, I want to go to the school that my brother went to, she means Sac High, that program. Because,
okay.
I think Greta actually like went to shows to see her older siblings in plays, at Sac High, because we were the high school that had the drama program,
Yeah.
and dance program and music program. So got started there, and then and then I just really acted, did community theater and our Sacramento's version of Shakespeare in the Park and stuff.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
went to a 2-year acting training program in California called PCPA, which is an actor training program that is aligned with the regional theater. So you
Yeah.
get the opportunity, your teachers are professional actors who are working in the company, and then you often can audition and perhaps be cast in the main stage productions as well as your studio, classwork productions. And it was there that I was like, this is the right art form, but I don't think I will be happy being an actor because I really got frustrated if the play wasn't working and it wasn't good. It didn't matter if I thought I was good. I want the play to be good. And I would just
Yeah.
be really unhappy if the play wasn't good. And I just thought, I can't control whether the whole play is good as an actor.
Yeah.
So I had a wonderful teacher there say to me, why aren't you thinking about directing? Like you think kind of big picture about the plays. Like when
Yeah.
you talk about it, you're always talking big picture. And he told me about the North Carolina School of the Arts directing drama program. So I transferred there and got my BFA from there.
Wow.
So I
So,
think that all led to me being a casting director.
yeah, I mean, okay, so you were really in acting. Like I saw that you were an actor. I didn't realize that you like really like were
Well,
in
in
into
school, I
yeah.
never went out, tried to get an agent or professionally because I was in school when I decided
Yeah.
this is not the life for me. I want to do something where I can have more impact on the overall project.
But you spent some time. That's what I mean.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
did
No, I'm
you
professionally trained.
yeah, yeah, that,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean doing theater, that's doing I imagine you did Shakespeare. So I
I
mean
sure
you
did.
said that. So this, some actors here they call themselves professional, haven't even touched Shakespeare, and it's like if you do Shakespeare, it'll teach you a lot of what you need to do for the work
Mhm.
because you have to work so hard on it. But so working on that, like were you trained in did you know about like Meisner or
Mhm.
Strasberg? Okay,
Yeah,
so wow.
yeah.
Okay.
That
And
was
you
it. I mean, I think you using those basic Stanislavski technique and then
yeah.
using the different styles. I think we even did some viewpoints along the way and like Suzuki work and all of that stuff.
Okay,
Like really
great.
classical training. Yeah.
That's awesome. What was there a moment that you had where you just went, "Okay, this just isn't for me," or was it like a certain play that you had?
Yeah, we had a situation where I did get cast, in main stage productions, which was, such an honor as a student.
Mhm.
But I was not happy because I didn't think the I'll be honest. I didn't think the play was well cast. I thought it was bad. I thought people were miscast in it. I'm sitting over here playing a small part, and I'm not that I want a bigger part, but I'm looking and going like, why this person rather than this person? And like, they cast,
Yeah.
miracle worker. Mrs. Keller is the same age as Mr. Keller, but in the play, she's supposed to be his younger, like his second wife, and the same age as his son, which creates
Yeah.
some conflict in the house. But because she looks the same age as him, you just don't understand why the son is so upset. Like I just was sitting over there going like, why do they do it this way? And when you're an actor, it's not for you to raise your hand and ask those
No,
questions.
I know.
Like you are difficult if you do that. So
You
I
just
think
sit
I
back
just
and go
was
take it
like,
on.
just underneath, I was sitting there and I saw my peers and friends going like, we're so excited to get cast. And I'd be excited for approximately like one day. And after the table read, I'd be like, this isn't going to be good.
That reminds me, during the pandemic, I did a play of Dorian Gray. And when I saw who they cast as some, I was like, wait a minute. He he can't speak like that. Nobody who's from South America is in this point in time, and I'm just like,
Oh,
but
I
you
think they
can't
can be
but you
okay about
can't do
that. But yeah,
anything
no,
about it. But yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
um so yeah, so you went to North Carolina School of the Arts, um, and you learned directing. So how did you transition that into casting? What was it about casting?
Well, I didn't even know casting was a job, to be honest,
Mm,
because, in the theater, especially in California, artistic directors do the casting for their theater productions. So I hadn't ever encountered a casting director um, until I was at School of the Arts. A cast director who, Alexa Fogel, actually, who's amazing, came
mm,
down to the school, and Dan Swee from Lincoln Center. And it still didn't really sink in for me, like, oh, this is something I could do. I just knew I was moving to New York. I have, no support system there. I have no connections. My
yeah,
parents are not wealthy. They're going to
yeah,
support me or something. So I was really just focused on living in New York at first, of like, how can I, get a waiting tables job, and like, can I pay my rent here and live here?
yeah.
And then I looked for an internship, like looked on playbill.com. How do I get close to the industry that I want to be a part of? Because you
Mm,
think it's hard to be an actor, at least there are auditions you could crash. How do you become a director? Like no one's like, here's,
yeah.
$50,000. Let's do an off-Broadway show. You're not doing that. So, and I didn't ever see any, there were no notifications about like looking for an assistant director or anything like that. It all seemed to be like through connections. So I thought, well, I got to get some connections. So
Mm,
I answered an ad, pursued a couple of internships, and got close to the public theater, which was like my dream.
yeah.
And then did answer an ad to work on Baz Luhrmann's production of Puccini's La Boheme on Broadway. And, it's a joke in our family. They were looking for someone with an opera background because they were really investigating opera singers, not
Mhm.
Broadway crossover, not mainstream, just like true opera singers. But I had seen only half an opera because in college I had to go see one and I left at intermission. Totally got caught too. But with a degree in directing, I'm like, that's a research degree. What do you need me to know about
Yeah.
about opera? And that's how I got an interview and I got the job. Right. And so I got the internship, and then I got hired to keep working on it. And it was me and the casting director, just me and her. And then Baz Luhrmann hired her to become his associate director. And I now saw a path to what I wanted
Mhm.
through this job of casting. But in the meantime, I fell in love with casting
Mhm.
so hard that when my time came and I did have that relationship with the director, that I thought I could say, hey, if you're ever looking, I'm open to that. I didn't want to leave casting. I was like, no, this is the right spot for me.
One thing that I like that you just kind of really showed, and I think a lot of actors kind of just like kind of sit and wait to be discovered. You went for it. You looked on Playbill. You're like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And I feel like sometimes, as actors, we just kind of are like, oh, well, hopefully, this is coming. And it's, that going out there and getting it. Because the question I had is, explain to like the people listening how casting directors are very similar to actors in some ways, and how they get jobs. There's
Oh, like
it's
interview for jobs and things like that. Yeah.
interview for
Mhm.
jobs. I mean, you talked about you wanted the public theater, but you ended up getting this.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Interviews and auditions are not that different of where
Mm,
we get a script, right? Like if we get an opportunity to interview for a casting project, often what will happen is a producer reaches out, they send the script, we read it, and we go in and meet, and we want to speak intelligently about the storytelling and tone and subtext, right? Like, and all the things that you need to discover within your sides to do a
mhm.
successful audition. You're putting in that reading. I could joke about and say reading comprehension, but reading comprehension is actually harder than people realize to be like excellent at it. It
Yeah,
means you have to look below the surface. Not everyone is telling the truth. Just because a character says it doesn't make it face value, right? Like you need to be able
yeah.
to interpret the script, right? And so do we. And so then we go in and interview, and it's very much about, I think, an artistic meeting of the minds. I think that's why I was able to book that internship for Bohem, even though I had only seen half an opera. I think that Heidi, who was the casting director, saw in me someone similar, a working style, a curiosity. I did my research of, you know, reading about the production, which had been announced because they were already starting to cast it, so it had been announced. And I read about the production in Australia, and that this was essentially kind of like a re envisioning of that production. So I read all the reviews of that one. And I
Mhm.
saw that the main thing that everyone talked about is they had young singers, where, the opera world doesn't really, it doesn't matter what age you actually are. It's like how you sing is the most
Yeah,
important thing. But in this version, we would be casting character, singers that were more like if you were doing a film version, like
yeah.
look like the
Similar to
parts.
what he
Correct.
did with, like, Romeo and Juliet, and,
Yes, it
he likes to
absolutely.
twist things on its head,
Yeah.
look at
So,
Elvis.
right, exactly. So, but it is the opera in Italian, like
Yeah.
it's the Bohème, So I looked into, as I prepared for my interview to work for free, by the way, for 6 weeks. Um, I I looked at like Google, I went to and did research into what are the top young artist programs, what are the top training programs, what are like, where would I go if I needed to find excellent opera singers who were young, right? Who weren't out in the business yet. And so I did
Mhm.
that work. And then when I went in with Heidi and talked, we just really connected
Yeah.
artistically of how we felt it was important to move forward. And one of the things that was the most important parts of our job was helping sort of like through the audition slash workshop process, kind of explain to opera singers what acting is, because opera really is classical music and they focus mainly on the voice. And we knew Baz would want actors. So we kind of would break down that audition. Don't just come in and sing, but let's actually do it like a monologue. Let's do it like a scene. Now let's add in the music in Italian, right? Like let's improv. Let's do all of this stuff to try to get the singers who may not have had the opportunity to think about their materials in a from an acting standpoint, that we're taking them through that so they would be prepared when they came in for Baz Luhrmann.
Were they receptive to those
Oh
things?
yeah.
Seeing as that's great.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. When you were working, so when you're starting and casting and everything, was there something that you saw in casting that you thought might have been missing, that you thought, "Maybe I can help illuminate this aspect of it?"
You mean like for the industry? Like, here's what
Yeah,
you're
something.
missing?
Yeah, I don't know. Some light, some
Could you
broad thing.
imagine? It's like, no, no. I do think that my directing degree
Yeah.
has helped me. It's like invaluable to the work that I do. I use what I learned in school and in acting school every day of what I do. It helps me understand where the actor's coming from. It helps me connect with the actor. Often I'm the one reading with the actor. So I am really comfortable trying, like if I feel like they're not quite listening to me, maybe I
Yeah.
mix up,
Stop.
like I don't stop, but like maybe I make a beat happen that they're not expecting. So they kind of have to go
Yeah.
like, what's she doing? And I'm like, that's right. Come on, listen, come on,
Yeah.
And I think that those kinds of things, I can tell when an actor like doesn't understand the beat,
Yeah.
right? I'm not having to just go off like a gut feeling. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
understand the scene work. And I'm like, this actor has scene work, has really investigated the scene. And this one is, not.
This one doesn't understand it. But I think that's great that you understand that, because in some of your previous interviews, you talked about how, you did a lot of scene work, and that gave you, a a good perspective, I think, when coming into casting, because
Mhm.
you understand that you don't understand how to talk to actors,
Yeah.
which
I feel really lucky to have had that training.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think? oh, this is something I see with a lot of. Why do you think actors are always looking for like this magic pill? Because you talked about how actors are like, what makes a great self tape? Well, what is a great resume? And they're always looking for this magic pill that's going to automatically get them cast, instead of realizing that it's really going to be the quality of the work that you bring into the room that's going to show it. It's not going to be this magic thing that you did. It's going to be consistently over time. Why is that hard to? What do you think?
I mean, honestly, it's an art form, and a craft, right? Acting. And it is, but it's also got this popular culture slash fame quality. So I think a lot of people want to be actors, but what they really want is to be a famous celebrity. And so they don't know about, they may have moved to LA and, they're putting all their time in about how they look and like, going to the gym to make sure that they look ready to be a famous celebrity. But they're not necessarily hitting, the Ibsen and the Chekhov and really, learning about the craft of acting. And so therefore
Yeah,
they don't have any tools. They're not working on their voice. They're
yeah,
not working on their scene study. But
yeah,
that's hard. Is I don't think anyone goes to the Philharmonic and sees, an incredible concert and then says, you know what, I'm going to be a cellist tomorrow. I'm booking an audition tour through Europe. Like they recognize, I don't know how to do that, but I think when
yeah.
you're good at acting, it looks like just behaving and living your life. So I think there's a lot of people who think I could do that.
Yeah. Since it looks easy, they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I can, wing that." But yeah, it's amazing to me because I'll talk to actors all the time, my friends, and I'll be like, "So who you studying with?" They're like, "Oh, I went to conservatory. I don't need to do that anymore." And I'm just kind of like, "Why?" That's
Well,
a
which
dumb
conservatory?
idea. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, but it's just like, even if you do it never stops. You need to always be training. You need to, and that's the other question I have. Why is it that actors are so reluctant to train? Like, say you
It's
have a
hard
profession.
and
Is that what it
expensive.
is? You think it's,
Yes, it's hard.
but you
It's
can do it at
hard.
home. I do it at home.
Sure, but
When
you
I'm,
don't have a Russian lady throwing a pencil at you if you're faking it.
no, you don't.
Like
But
a great
yeah,
teacher calls you out
yeah.
and it can be painful.
I mean, I would say a lot of those, I mean, I went to Strasbourg, and that was probably the last of like that kind of teacher you had. We didn't really have teachers anymore throwing stuff at you. I kind of
I'm
wish we
just saying
did
it in a
have that.
fun way. My favorite
I know what you
teacher threw
mean. I know
stuff.
what you mean. But
I was a
we did
masochist
have.
though. I was like, rip me apart so I can rise
Oh,
like a phoenix. I
same
wanted to
me.
be challenged. I
Same me.
think it's
I
hard.
had you need to be, ripped, because it's like, if you just tell me everything I'm doing is good, and it's like, what's the problem here? Why am I not getting
How come
cast?
I'm not a star? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but why do you think that? Because when you look at like a professional, you said it's hard, but is that just what it is? Because it's hard, it's difficult to do. I mean, you could be working on a monologue, you could be working on, like you said,
Yeah,
the
of course,
voice.
but you don't know if you're good,
Mm, okay, that's
right?
interesting. Yeah,
You can
no,
work on a
that's an interesting.
monologue all you want. It doesn't mean you're a
Wow.
good actor.
No, no, it doesn't mean you're a
It's
good
highly
actor.
subjective as well. Like it's
Yeah,
highly subjective. There's two things like the journey to becoming an actor is starts with a dream, obviously. I kind of
yeah,
joke about it where I'm like, we start with a pulse and a dream, right?
yeah,
And then I hopefully pursue training, learn about our blind spots, learn about our talents. Where does our talent lie? Where are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? I remember being in drama school and there was a lot of like, you're a head person and this person's a heart person. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, as far as I know, every single person in here has a head and a heart. But it might mean the way you approach the work is more intellectual versus more
yeah,
gut instinct or whatever. And again, it doesn't really matter your process as long as the result is effective and moving. And that also can be subjective. Like
yeah,
I've had directors say like, this person can't sing. And I'm looking at the 5 Broadway shows where they play a lead on there. And I'm like, well, someone disagrees with you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
they can, but like their voice doesn't work for you. So then, that agent calls, how did they do? Well, the director just wasn't on board with their voice. And of course, the agent's like, they have an incredible voice. I'm like, right, but it's just not for this director. It's very much a taste. It's like it's subjective. So you kind of have to know what kind of artist you are
Yeah.
and go in and share that. And I think that and you have to somehow find validation for yourself because I think a lot of actors want booking the work to be the validation.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a safe place to live.
No.
And certainly the audition room is not a place of validation. We're
Yeah.
doing a process to try to like cast the thing. We're not there. We don't know you. I mean, we get to know you, but like when you just walk into an audition, for the actor, it's all about them. But for us, it's not. It's like, what do you have to give us? What are you going to show us? And some actors, I think, especially when you read online where everyone's like, we don't like the self tapes. We want the adjustments. We want the casting director to tell us what to do. Part of me is like, I get that. But
Yeah.
like, that's not how it happens. It's not
Yeah.
like people come in with no ideas and we tell you how to do it. And then it's like, whichever one did it gets it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. Some people,
I
I
think
saw that
people
interview you're talking about that.
actually think like this is how people get cast. They go in and the cast director tells them. And I'm like, no,
No.
not necessarily. Because
No.
also we don't know. We need you to bring in your ideas. You're the piece of the puzzle that's missing. You're the artist in this collaborative process that's missing. We need artists to walk in the room, not just a person who will follow direction.
Yeah, and you need to be specific. You need to have ideas. You need to come with things, and
Point of view.
sometimes more than one idea, so that you can work off of it. So you're not just like coming in with an idea that's stuck in one way, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we'll do this. It's interesting. What do you? Well, I want to go back to what you were talking about being in the room. What do you think about, since we've kind of lost the self tapes, or I mean, well, since we've gone to self tapes and we've kind of lost a lot of the room, do you think that that's because you've said in previous interviews you see that as something that's good because you can see more people, but
No,
is
I've said there's pluses and pros and cons. I don't
okay,
think it's good.
okay, tell
I
me.
think that it is a useful tool for people. It's more efficient, so you can see more people.
Mm,
But also, it is. I think in terms of casting, like, can I find the right actor for this part? It. I don't want to say it's equal, but it is almost equal.
mm,
Right? And obviously, logistically, it's much more efficient. So when you have something that's almost equal, like, a good actor does a good self tape
yeah,
and they also give a good audition in the room. I think people are forgetting a little bit how much like they couldn't get in the room,
yeah,
couldn't get in the audition when it was all in person. I think people are forgetting that, or they're assuming they'll be one of the ones to get in. And
yeah,
obviously, if they were an actor who had tons of auditions, then they're missing that. And I totally understand that.
yeah,
But I think it's wonderful to be in the room. And I think it's magic happens in the room too. But sometimes I will receive a self tape that I'm like, that was magic. That was
yeah,
fantastic. Like it, we got it. Right. Like I'm
yeah,
very excited by the self tape. Um, I don't know. I just think that there's pros and cons to both, and it's very much like a logistics difference.
yeah. But I like what you said about like some people are just like, man, like, well, if I was in the room, then I would be booking, instead of realizing that like
I think
it's good
grass
on
is
tape.
always greener. Now that we've gotten,
Yeah.
I have a friend whose wife who, or a client, like a person I collaborate with, whose wife's an actor. And, during the self tape time, he was like, she was always like, oh, I hate the self tapes. And then the minute they was back in the room, she's like, that's actually worse. What was I thinking? I think it's grass is always greener. Auditions are hard.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, what we can walk away from is auditions are hard. And, but it's the best way we've come up with to discover new people.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest obstacle facing actors and casting directors today?
Um, I think the same obstacle. I mean, I would say scarcity. It does feel like the industry is changing. And so there feels like, we're coming out of peak television where there was just so much being produced. But then I really think humans will human and we're going to keep telling stories. So I have a confidence in that. Um, the biggest challenge, honestly, to me, we're in a better place than when I started because I feel like there are stories being told for everybody now, like when
Yeah.
we talk about things like who were previously underrepresented, like, people used to feel they needed to hide that they were LGBTQ. Like people felt if they were not a size zero, they couldn't be an actor. They didn't see themselves represented. I think people of color didn't see themselves represented or only saw very basic stereotypes of, and now we really just live in a different world where people are more than ever creating their own stuff and it's getting, it's popular and it's getting produced. And, I don't know that we'll ever get to go back to peak television, which was, just there was so much content being produced in every direction, which was
Mm.
awesome, obviously. But we have to remember we have to make money,
Yeah.
like things have to, like we're lucky there's a commercial side, but because I think that means these studios are still going to want to sell content, right? Like at
Yeah.
the end of the day, they're going to want to, and humans are going to want to take in content. Like that is something I think we've never been different than that. Even we've had art with cavemen, right? Like we do
Yeah.
want to tell stories. Storytelling is a huge part of being human. It'd be possible for like human storytelling. I think it looks crap.
Well, it can't replicate the human eye, and that's one of the things that is really complex, is how
Yeah.
complex the eye is. So, it might look good on surface, but if you're going into deep work, you're not gonna be able to get those subtleties that only the human
No,
eye can do,
I
and
I
it's
remember. In
yeah.
fact, you were saying you love the movie. My the most violent year. I remember Glenn Fleshler played a part in that,
Mm,
and there's one of the sides was a scene where he's being very intimidating to Abel, and then Abel just had some information that he didn't realize he
yeah,
had. And
yeah,
I want to say not a muscle moved, but it was like Glenn's eyes changed color. That's like how subtle it was. Like it
yeah.
was like everything was different now, but not an eyelash moved. It's all internal. And that audition was one of the most exciting ones
Ah,
I've ever seen because it was so subtle, but it was so clear, like
yeah.
what was going on internally for him that's the only way I could describe it. It was as if his eyes just changed colors.
A and that's what can happen in an audition when you really are specific and you really are locked in, is
Yeah.
things like that can happen because then you stop you stop
Well,
thinking
you're
about
not outside
lines.
yourself. It's that thing
Yeah.
of you're in the moment. You're in the moment.
You're in a scene, you're in a situation,
Well, but
and
even
it
now, we say in acting, how do we stay in the moment where you're not thinking about, oh God, here comes my big scene. I got to start crying. Like you're not
yeah,
outside. You're in the character, thinking, having the inner monologue of the character, like you are in character.
yeah,
And that's what I think we all got to be going for.
yeah,
Right.
'cause that's what we wanna see, and that's what we wanna
Mhm.
see on the event, and that's why I agree with, what you said about having when you're doing self-tapes, having it close, not doing the 3/4, shot, where you could see half because then you can
Yeah,
see the eyes, 'cause that's what
absolutely.
is gonna bring us in. Talk about working with the Telsey office. I mean, you've been working with it for a long time, but, like, was
Mhm.
it always a good fit?
Oh yeah, Bernie Telsey is an incredible mentor. I can't even begin to even probably comprehend how much he's taught me. And he and Will Cantler and David Vicari, Beth Knox, and Craig Burns were all there when I started,
Mm,
and are still there. David's retired, but everyone else is there, and it is. And now, of course, we've grown, and now we have two offices, right? The New York
yeah,
and LA office, and it's really a family. That's all I can say. We really love our internal collaboration as
mhm,
much as our, external, like with our clients or with the studio or with actors. We
yeah.
also have our, internal
Well, I liked
collaboration.
hearing about how, you would be like, "Here's the people I like. people you like, and then you're like, I'm not sure about this person, but here, let's look at this,
Yeah.
maybe you should take another look. And the fact that you have that trust with each other, be like, well, and I think that's good. Let's go into some specifics. You talked a little bit about this already. A Most Violent Year. Talk about casting that film. You already gave me something great about an amazing thing that happened in the audition room. What was that like casting? Because watching that film, they feel so real. Everybody just feels like they live in that world. I mean, it takes place in 1982, I believe, right, kind of before New York changes into, Disney World, this is the
Yeah.
end of, 1976 Taxi Driver, New
Yes.
York, where it was like, pawn shops and, porn and stuff. Like now
Mhm.
you go to Times Square and it's like, my mother, when I first went to New York, she told me, she was like, well, I want you to be careful. I'm like, it's not like that anymore. It's really not any bad parts of New York like
A
that.
little grimy. I mean, Elmo doesn't look like how Elmo looks if you go to one of the
Oh yeah.
parks.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah. I'll tell you
dirty.
that. Yes.
But sure. Yeah. I would say it is, I mean, JC Chandor is a filmmaker. First of all, the writing. Just when you read the scenes, like you kept discovering more and more. It's one of the reasons I still like when I teach, I'll use scenes from that
Oh,
film
that's awesome.
because there's so much happening underneath the surface. And if you think, a lot of people think day player, day player means you work a day or 2 days.
Yeah.
That's all it means. You could have a good part as the day player. Like your part could be very meaningful and it could be a very good scene, but you're like the contractor or you're a
Yeah.
cop, or whatever in, opposite one of the leads, but it's not like all day players are not like, here's your latte or latte, it's not always like that. And so I think
Yeah.
that a lot of actors just assume if it's on that contract level, well, there's nothing to do. And
Yeah.
they kind of enter into the scene work with that point of view, which means they miss everything. And
Yeah.
so the best thing about Most Violent Year is really getting to see and casting these incredible actors like tear apart that script and find all these little nuggets of beats and little points of view that you're
Yeah.
just like, whoa. And so it was really, really rich in that sense. And, Neil Dodson, who produces with JC, is a former actor, went to Carnegie Mellon. So
Okay.
he is really, really has excellent taste in acting. And I don't know, it just feels like we're in there and we've always done them in New York, right? So,
Yeah.
you've got a great actors coming in of every level, like whether they're getting started or not. And it's a pure joy.
Is this there's the part where the kid, he's Abel is giving him all the stuff about, you ask for tea, whatever the thing is. He comes in. I mean, he gets attacked in the scene or whatever. But that's a scene where, it could be throwaway, but it isn't. Even the two people that he's talking to, you only see him for a second, but like I can go right to them.
So
What's
there's
his
this
name?
scene, I don't even know if it ended up in the movie, but this scene I use in classes for this beat cop. And, it
Okay.
says, the cop sitting on he's like alone, sitting on his cop car with this, oil truck there. It's been
Okay. Yeah.
stolen from Abel. Abel comes up to him and is like, "Can I take it?" And he's like, "Is it yours?" Like with this attitude. And every
Yeah.
time and people play it very much like I'm the, shitty cop, but
They
then
just use the
there's
ethos. Yeah.
right, but there's a part in the scene where Abel kind of like goes, "So you've done nothing." And the cop realizes he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
He's not well trained. He doesn't help people. Like he's got all this attitude, like I've got authority and I have an important
Yeah.
job. He's babysitting an empty truck. And like when you read where it is, it's like exterior dog racetrack parking lot.
Oh, yeah, you're
But
right, it is
so
in there,
many
yeah.
people, like because Abel says, "Can I take it?" And then he says, "Excuse me," people just automatically are like, you know, act like they're interrupted. But I'm like, no, no, you're sitting in an empty, there's one car driving up. You're going to be watching the guy
Yeah.
approach you, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
busy. You're not in a police station doing work and someone comes up. You're sitting in an empty with this one thing. Like like those little details, it's like you're just taking everything for granted. You're not really reading it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going, oh, it's a cop, he's got an attitude, and that's all the level of the work it is. And you miss
And yeah,
like
don't do
7
that.
beats in that scene if you do that.
Part of that scene is in the movie, but it's cut in a way
Yeah.
where you can't see that, I'm sure they filmed it at some point like
Yeah.
that, but it got cut because I
No, that's
can
what
remember
happens,
that.
but that's you gotta book it though. And
Yeah,
that
exactly.
scene was great. It was a
Yeah.
really fun scene. So
I love that. Were you involved with all the casting of all these people in it?
yeah.
So like Albert Brooks, when
Mhm.
he did he
Well, he doesn't
audition?
read. No, no,
Okay,
no,
he didn't have to read.
no.
That's what I'm
No, but we
asking.
did a list and we talked about, you know, who makes the most sense. And
Yeah,
that's a big part of casting is talking about actors and you know, who would be ideal and like who also seems like
yeah.
realistic that you can get for a film of this budget and what you have budgeted. Like that's a big part of it.
Because you had the guy who went on to do that show Scorpion. He plays the I
Elias.
don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Mhm.
He has a lot to do in it. I don't know if he was a name at that point,
Mm-mm.
but he really does a lot with that. I
No,
mean
he's
that
terrific.
last scene,
Yeah, he
where
was like in we
he's just
were, familiar with him, but,
okay.
like, hadn't worked with him yet. Maybe I'd seen him in one audition or something,
Yeah,
but he was someone that was, like, a real up and comer, and we thought, like, could be really right, and it was tricky because he doesn't live in New York, so we had to, like, figure out when were we doing this, and figure
yeah,
that out, the logistics there, but he's wonderful.
yeah. Moving on to Miss Sloane, another film that you cast that
I
I
love Miss
love that
Sloane.
film. I don't
People
think
need
it
to
gets enough.
watch that
Thank
movie.
you.
You know
Yes.
what?
In
I
this time
really
period.
say this. I think it's one of the best movies I ever did. It's sitting in an audience watching that movie. People are like yelling at the screen. Like it is so
Yeah.
I really enjoy that film. And I think because it was testing so well, they decided to not do the festival route. And that was we should have
Is
done
that what
festivals,
happened?
I think.
Ok
Yeah.
yeah, you
I
guys
mean,
definitely yeah,
hindsight's always 2020. Obviously, a lot of great people. I mean, John Madden, the director, is amazing. I love working with him. Um, he's fantastic. Yeah, Miss Sloane, that was a really fun one. So many of our
yeah.
favorite New York actors in there.
Like, there's the
Jake
guy
Lacey.
yeah, there's the guy who plays, because she's so busy all the time, she has to, like, hire somebody just to sleep with her or anything, and you bring that guy and, that could have been a throwaway thing, but he really, like,
Oh no, he's
makes
great.
it into something where it's like, he actually kind of, is he care about her? Is he just doing the job? It adds some, subtlety to it. And that's one of the things I love about Miss Sloane. It just, I mean, it's got the same kind of feel as the Most Violent One. It has
Yeah.
Jessica Chastain in it.
Yeah.
Was that, what was that like casting overall? Was it just,
Well, it was um we had done the pilot of Masters of Sex with John Madden and had an
mm,
incredible time on that. And then when we did this one was more like us putting on tape because John wasn't in New York, right? So then we were
yeah,
like sending selects out and stuff. But we got so many of our favorites in there. Lucy Owen, spoiler that, when she gets caught,
mm,
that she's the
the,
the mole, or like she's been
yeah,
leaking information. That
yeah,
scene
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Allison Pill, that scene is so great. Am I thinking
Allison
the
Pill
right part,
does
right? Allison
Allison Pill
Pill is
does
great.
such a good job in there because she disguises, you don't know
Oh,
where she is and
no, totally phenomenal.
until that
I
end.
gotta
I
watch
mean,
that movie again. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of
I'm
that.
I'm kind of surprised like it's never on HBO or any of those movie channels and I'm just like it's rarely even on sale like on like
I know,
Amazon
it's
or anything.
great.
And I'm like, why? Yeah, it's kind of like this gem that I feel like, maybe the Criterion Collection will find it and, release it and say this film came out here. But yeah, no, I love Miss Sloan and especially the ending. I feel like that's kind of what needs to happen now.
Yeah.
um, Margin Call. What was that like?
Well, that was the first time we worked with JC. So
Okay.
that was before Most Violent Year. That one was really an interesting one because it was such like a JC, I think, was more known for commercials. And so
Mm,
we didn't have, when we did Most Violent Year, we had done Margin Call, which had done really well. So
yeah.
we had a little bit more easier to pitch, the film. And I would say that margin call, we were really trying to get, bankable names to get the money together to make this film. And it came to us because of Zach Quinto. He was the producer of it, along with Neil, who he went to college with. And
Mhm.
then they had, found JC or like worked with JC somehow. And I don't actually know how they all met, but they came to us with this film. And there was a lot of like, offering trying to get bankable names, and that's where
Yeah.
indie film really is the struggle, is like the film's not real till someone says yes.
Yeah.
And Zach was having some success. I think he had gotten Spock by this point, and
Mhm.
I kind of feel like he was at one agency and the other agency wanted to poach him. So they were really smart and said, we'll take a
Mhm.
meeting. And they basically went in there and were like, this is our film. We want to make it. How are you going to help us? And it was, and then
Oh.
the poaching agency, or no, sorry, not poaching,
Yeah.
the new agency was like, how about this? And like
Yeah.
got it happening. And that really helped us. So I'm always, when I'm working with independent producers and directors, I'm like, who do you know? What do we have? Is there any leverage? Do we have? Is anyone repped somewhere so that we can try to encourage the talent agents at that agency to really like help us get someone great?
Yeah. Because you
You
talk
know,
because you talk about now you're seeing now people are just sending their assistant and they just send you a list of actors. They're like, "Hey, pick pick one," and it's like, how much time did that take?
they're not even available and would
Yeah.
never do it. You're
Yeah.
just like, this is,
Yeah, it's like, wow, you really looked at this. Now let's talk about Wicked, which I think is the perfect marriage of theater people and film people I think I've ever seen translated into film. Is it just I didn't think it was gonna be good. I remember sitting in the movie theater and then being blown away by just the first. It was like, "Oh, wow, this is exactly what it needs to be." And I just started crying. I was so happy that I was wrong. It was so good. Um, you brought in Cynthia Erivo, who, first time I saw her was, Bad Times at El Royale, and she was really
Mhm.
good in that. She actually sings in that. Talk a little bit about finding was she somebody that you guys were already looking at? Because you said you guys had kind of an open casting. They didn't like say, "Here's a
Mhm.
find us where have you got this star?" Like the most of the star was probably gonna be Ariana Grande, but we'll talk about her in a minute. But
Yeah. Well, our office does a lot of Broadway musicals, and so we actually, Bernie cast The Color Purple,
mm,
where Cynthia played Celie,
yeah,
in the revival, and we actually did both Color Purples on Broadway, the original and the revival. So we were well aware of Cynthia's talents, and she obviously, Celie is a very difficult vocal role, as is Elphaba. So we
mm,
knew that that was probably going to be in her wheelhouse. And the question with her was just about Act One, because Cynthia carries tremendous strength, right?
yeah,
Tremendous strength. And she does have vulnerability too. Obviously, Celie is very vulnerable in Color Purple. She's a character with a lot of trauma, and Cynthia was absolutely genius in that. But there's a humor to Wicked, right? There is a humor to and a vulnerability,
yeah,
like an insecurity. It's kind of different in Wicked, and that was kind of more the question: is as Cynthia has, come into her power. She'd already been nominated for an Oscar for Harriet.
yep,
She'd won the Olivier, won the Tony for Color Purple. Like she really is in her power. Could she still connect to that girl who doesn't belong and shows up and is different and is other and feels like her biggest strength is actually her biggest weakness, all of those kinds of things that you do. And that's what we saw in Cynthia's audition that was so amazing, is she just absolutely dropped in, and she sure did have all of that and connected to it in a way that I don't even think, I mean, we obviously couldn't imagine. And then and then of course we had other actors also in the mix. And so we did some mixing and matching.
mm,
Um, and each time Cynthia did anything, it was just crystal clear that she.
interesting.
Mhm.
Was it because you've mentioned Amanda Seyfried? Was she wanted? She didn't go for Elphaba. She only
No,
went
she was
for
for Glinda.
she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
for Glinda. Is there anybody, or can you not talk about it? Anybody that was kind of close to it or no?
I don't
No
feel
big deal.
comfortable because
Okay.
I'll be
Okay.
really honest with you. It's a vulnerable place. And we
Yeah.
are talking about people's dreams. Like
Yeah.
Cynthia and Ari have talked so much, and actually so has Amanda, about their dream to be in Wicked.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's like vulnerable. And we saw amazing people. We really
No,
did.
no. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, only one
Yeah.
girl gets this part, one girl or woman gets this part, and one woman gets that part. And that's just how casting works. And I'm so grateful to every actor who engaged in that process because we really learned so much during the process. It was really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. No, no, no. We'll leave it at that. All right. So let's talk about Ariana Grande. I don't know if I'm misquoting you or not. You said that this is one of your favorite auditions you saw because, due to the journey from seeing her as like kind of seeing, Ariana Grande, the pop star, and then seeing her slowly become Glinda. Now, she originally wanted Elphaba. Is that correct? That's not correct.
We did say to her, she could kind of vocally do both. We knew vocally she could do both.
Okay.
Um, it seemed like obviously we knew she was funny from like Jimmy Fallon,
Yeah.
clips and SNL
SNL.
and
Yeah. She
things
was
like
so
that.
great.
So, but in terms of a dramatic actress where this role has to go, hadn't seen her in something like that. Um, so when she came in initially, she definitely had kind of like her look that she has when she's Ariana Grande, the pop
Yeah.
star. And I think that was kind of distracting. And um, I again get the opportunity to be the reader with her. And
Mhm.
so I was feeling some stuff that I don't know if the room was feeling initially, because I have such a unique experience being the one who's actually doing the scene work.
Yeah.
It's different, and I think that it wasn't so much as she slowly turned in the character. I think that it's more that as we spent more time together, the collaboration that both parties, John Chu and her, were bringing to the table and what we were discovering in those audition rooms just were just kept like it was like the doors opening, opening, opening. I wouldn't say the
Yeah.
door was shut at first and we had to force it open, or it was a surprise that the door opened. We know doors open. It
Yeah.
was more of watching the door open and seeing her incredible commitment and ideas growing with us in the process because she had several auditions. So she I don't know, she just kept bringing it. She did say in the first audition, do you want me to sing Define Gravity? And we were like, yeah. She did, and of course it was amazing.
Because she said like a year before it even auditions, when she heard that this was even coming out, she got together with, her music team. It's like, let's
Mhm,
already start preparing for
mhm.
for Wicked. So she was already
Oh no,
getting into that.
she really manifested this whole thing.
Yeah. And when you see I think I really like her arc in the second one. I feel
Well,
like she really
phenomenal.
shows the
Oh, incredible.
just the vulnerability and her becoming Glinda the good witch, the witch that we see her as. It's one of my favorite parts, when she says, Elphaba says to her right before for good, you can do all the things that I can't do. She's realized that like, I'm fighting a losing battle going after this, but they already think you're good. So be that.
Yeah.
Learn to be better, and we see her,
I'm gonna
do that
cry.
try. I
So
know I'm gonna
good.
cry too.
It was so good.
When I watched the first Wicked, when you get to that part where she's like falling, you're hearing the voices and everything, and she sees her former self there, and then she comes in and we see her power. I was like, that's one of the most heart stopping things. Like I'm forgetting to breathe, because it just is, it's there. But yeah, I thought her Glinda in the second one, like it's still Alphaba's movie in some ways, but I really feel like it's Glinda's, but she's got the real turn that happens in that
I think
second
a lot
film.
of people feel like Act One of Wicked is Elphaba's and Act Two is
Yeah,
Glinda's journey. But I think that the truth at the end of the day, I know there was some like controversy of
yeah,
like, why is she being put up for supporting? She's the lead of the second movie. And I'm like, it's still called Wicked, and the Wicked
yeah,
Witch is Elphaba. It is all still in support of Elphaba, right? Like
yeah,
that is the arc of the story. But Glinda is is a tremendous role with tremendous range, and Ari just murdered
Yeah.
it.
I mean, you see that part when she realizes that Fiero's in love
Oh,
with Elf. You know, you could see her heart break, and I'm just
oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, I just want to give you a hug, and I can't. You know, talk a little bit about like what about like the Wizard and Madame Marble? How did you
Yeah,
guys
those
have to
those
audition
were
those?
no, no, those
Okay,
parts we knew that
okay,
we would be just because of the,
yeah,
the age and the established, and also, they're vocally, I know some people have vocal issues, but they're vocally not difficult roles. And
yeah,
they're not, I don't think that the singing for those characters are the most important element of what they need to do.
yeah,
And so I think that we did lists of ideas, which is so fun because you kind of, when you're doing a big movie like that, you get to just like think, who was your dream person? And I
yeah,
think, Michelle was, I was very excited to cast Michelle because what I loved so much about Dana and Winnie's screenplay and how it differed from the original Wicked stage musical is that, Morrible in the stage musical is almost like female authority figure in Hairspray.
yeah,
She's comic relief. She's
yeah,
almost camp, and she's passing out dorm assignments, but she's also the sorcery teacher and she's
yeah,
also the press secretary to Oz. She really is like, this
yeah.
is
She's
really a
doing
one
everything.
woman
Yeah,
university here. And what's happening to Shiz now that Morrible's working with the wizard? I mean, like, it must have fallen apart because she literally did everything at that. Yeah,
yeah,
she's the only authority figure you see except for Dillamond, right?
yeah,
And I guess Nicodic when he comes in and to take over when they, fired Dillamond. But it I loved in this one where that scene where, the way it was written in the movie, where Elphaba loses her, control and has that moment of magic where Nessa Rose gets raised up, and you see this most elegant woman in the world, the most powerful looking woman who's got mystery and gravitas, the way that, Michelle Yeoh has. You just
yeah,
instantly are like, holy moly, who is that? Right.
yeah,
And when she sees Elphaba and changes her life by saying, you need to come and study here and blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, you feel, I think because Michelle is so right and
yeah,
perfect for what that moment needs, you
yeah,
feel it in the audience. You feel like your Elphaba, like your excitement for Elphaba, I think
yeah,
it's all of us because we all understand what kind of teacher that is. The person everyone wants to get in their class. And
yeah,
I just think Michelle had that like
yeah.
times a million. And also she's a fun villain, I think. She's really fun. I think but
I
yet
thought
you,
she added so much to it that I felt was kind of missing in some of the stage show, that
yeah,
you
yeah.
just that subtlety. But there's a lot of stuff you can't do in the stage show. You can't show her, feeling embarrassed in the middle of the dance floor like you can in a film where you can really just take that time
Oh, for
and
sure. And
so I'm
Michelle really like I just love her so much. And I think that
yeah.
she and then with Jeff, I think the thing with you want someone very idiosyncratic. You want someone who feels like they could have been a carny, right?
Yeah.
Like he's a con man, right? Like he's a
Yeah.
carnival man and a showman. And there's something about like if Jeff Goldblum turned out to be like a professional magician, would anyone be surprised? No.
No,
He
no.
seems like that, right? Like he really has this. He also has an awe of him. I think of him in Jurassic Park, which is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
And his character, or The Fly. I mean,
Yeah.
his
Oh, I
body
just
of
saw The
work.
Fly the other day.
Yeah, we
He's
watched
so
it
good in
again
that.
in the fall with my kids, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Holy moly!"
Yeah.
And I just think he's. I also think it's a movie musical, so like
Yeah.
Jeff's physicality, I think, really adds a lot because his numbers are. It's hard to do those numbers like wonderful in the middle of the drama of part
Yeah.
two. And he's just got that loosey goosey style of movement, and he's very musical. He is a musician.
Yeah.
And I think all of that adds up to a very special wizard that's not just like a place setting, like someone who really, I mean, when he covers his face with his hands, when he realized what he's done, like it's so good. I just think
Yeah.
just
And he's
so
also
he
just
kind of popped off the list to us, like
yeah.
you just see it and you go, Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. Will
Yeah.
he do it? That's kind of, that was, I guess that was kind of the thing. The reason I asked that is because they did have to sing, and I was wondering, did you need to see them sing? And because I know when what's his name
Well, I've
is
heard
doing,
Jeff sing. Jeff is a musician and has a band,
yeah,
and you can hear like I've heard. I feel like I've heard him sing. With Michelle, Michelle very openly says when John reached out to her, she was like, "I don't sing," and I
yeah,
think
doing that,
all of us were kind of like, well, it's a movie musical, so movie musical isn't 8 shows a week on
yeah,
Broadway, right? And this character is more of like a character singer anyway. It's not meant to be. It's not like
yeah.
it's not the
It's
same
not,
kind of
yeah,
singing. It's more so we all of us just felt like that she's so perfect for the role that she'll just make it her own.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. What about Bowen Yang? I thought he added so much to just
Oh,
a little, he brought that SNL charm that
well,
needed to
that
be
one
there.
we have to thank, our friend Ariana Grande, because honestly, the whole time, like it
Oh,
was an
really?
idea, but like he was fully not available.
Okay.
Like we shot through SNL and he's the star of SNL at the time. He
Yeah.
was probably in the most sketches at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. They
So
always
I
use
couldn't
him.
imagine a world where we could get him cleared to go to London to rehearse and learn choreo. Like it's more than showing up on 5 days of shooting. It's a
Yeah.
lot more. So, you know, I we held auditions for that part and saw some really wonderful actors, who read alongside Bronwyn, during our process in London. And it's so funny. I just saw one of them that I just fell in love with, and she is in All My Sons on with Bryan Cranston on the West
Oh,
End.
wow.
And I saw her,
Oh,
I
that's great.
screamed as much excitement when I saw she was going to be in it because I fell in love with her during the process. And obviously, this is what happens in showbiz. And this is why we always say to actors, win the room. Because even if you don't get the job, like I am looking to cast her in something. Like I
Yeah.
really, if I have the opportunity to consider London actresses, I'm absolutely considering her because fell in love with her during the auditions. And many others, right? That we saw that were great. But then, Ari went to Lauren and he approved Bowen doing it. So that was really fun.
That's great. 'Cause he added so much to it. All right. So now, after many years of this fight being done, finally we're going to see the Academy Awards is finally going to recognize casting directors. Talk a little bit about how that feels, because this is something that this took a long time to happen. I mean, look at it. We're at what
Yeah.
98? It's finally take
No, it's
98.
really, really exciting. It's really exciting. And I think that, a lot of times people ask me, why do you think it's taken this long? And I think part of it is because casting happens in pre-production. So we're
Mhm.
not on set, we're not in the editing room, we're not in post. So by the time the film comes out, our work is, the earliest. We're the start, right?
Yeah.
We're where the film starts production. And so I think that for many, many Academy members, right, who are cinematographers, they may not have met the casting director. Cinematographer might not
Yeah.
have met the casting director. Like I noticed when we did the Wicked press tour, I got to hang out with Myron and Francis and Nancy and Dana. They all know each other.
Yeah.
I get to work with Mark Platt and John Chu and Bernie and the actors.
Yeah.
That's my process, right? So I am not often working with I get to work with the choreographer very closely, but like I'm not on set. My job is done once the shooting begins. So I think it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And if you're an Academy member from a branch like sound, how do you understand? I don't understand their process any more than they understand my process. And our process is it can feel very much like the studio just picked movie stars and that's how it gets done. But it's
Yeah.
like how you pick is a very creative decision, right? Just like, you
Yeah.
know, every door slam in a film is specific to the moment and specific to the kind of door and the kind of space, and they have to, the sound mixers and sound editors have to find the sounds that match the thing. We're doing the same thing, but with human beings, right?
Exactly.
It's none of it's stock footage. None of
Yeah.
it like, oh, here I have this one set up, it's going to show up on set and we just show up with it. Every single decision is create a creative one. But I think probably the reason it's taken so long is we had to educate people about our process because most Academy members, show up and the cast is there. They don't know how they got
Yeah.
there.
So you guys had to really sit there and like educate them and explain to them the
Well, the
importance of
original,
this.
I mean, first of all, getting a casting branch, I feel like the casting
Okay.
branch is only like 12 or 13 years old. So that's part of it. We didn't have
Wow.
cast a branch that could even advocate for itself, right? There
Yeah.
were casting directors who were members at large, but not, not
Interesting.
actually, uh, have a branch where you could organize. And so Bernie and David Rubin and Laura Kennedy were the original. And that was, I think, you know, as soon as we had an Academy branch, it was let's work on the Oscar. And
Yeah.
so it's taken that long to get there. And so we're really grateful to all of the governors and the executive branch committee members who got us there and who did, sponsor those. I remember there was an Academy event where there were filmmakers and actors, and they just talked about the process of casting with their casting director, and spoke out about that process and helped to educate everyone.
Now we know for a fact this will be on TV when they see this. They're not gonna pull like I don't know if you remember, but
Oh
remember
yeah,
they
yeah,
would
yeah.
started they're handing them out at like the seat, and I was just
Yeah,
like, that's horrible.
I believe that it's going to be aired. Yeah. I don't know.
Just
I don't know everything, but yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
it's like you come into them, it's like, here's your Oscar. Okay, you can leave now. Like it's like,
Yeah.
no, everyone deserves to go up on that stage and do it. It may take a long time, but that's what it is. It's not like the Grammys where it's about music. You can pepper in music here, but it's really about the achievement and film, and you need that. So this has been great. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about that we haven't
No,
touched
I
on?
think we've covered some stuff.
All right. What does the future hold?
Hopefully
That
just
you
more
could talk
work.
about.
We keep push. In terms of
That
projects.
whatever you want to talk about. I mean, but if you can talk about it.
Well, I'm
Whatever.
very excited about upcoming seasons of Paradise has started to air season 2, and we're getting started on season 3 casting. And also Only Murders in the Building. I'm just getting started on season 6, which is actually going to shoot in the UK. So that's kind of different and
Oh,
very fun.
cool.
Yeah, so we're getting started on that. I can't really talk about the films. Yeah.
Cool. All
Great.
right, thank you. This is my Inside the Actors Studio questions. These are very fast. They can be long, whatever you want them to be. Do you have a beginning of the day routine?
Yes, coffee, New York Times Wordle, Connections, Mini and Strands,
Oh, wow.
all the games.
Okay.
And then I like to read my emails so that I can like stave off anxiety and see like where we're at the beginning of the day in case I have production happening in Australia or something. I want to see like what happened. What did I miss?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Do you have a nighttime routine?
I watch TV. It's actually not very healthy because I fall asleep now. And then if I wake up in the middle of the night, I turn the TV back on to try to fall asleep again. So I think I'm kind of addicted, but I try to
I
watch
love
shows
it.
that I haven't, keep up on shows that everyone's talking about. So I'm in the know and then watch shows that, maybe I have actors I'm curious about, or movies that I'm curious about.
Cool. Do you meditate?
No.
It's okay. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it can
I
help.
daydream. Is that the same as meditating?
In some ways, it's a form of
And
meditation.
I daydream, like,
Well, there
of
you go.
course, yeah.
Yeah. What do you do for physical fitness?
Physical fitness, I have the little, by the desk,
Okay. All
things
right.
that I can do
I
some.
thought you were gonna bring out the shake weight.
No, no, no. I do a little bit of arms and core
Yeah,
and when you're at the desk, and I do a
that's
lot of
cool.
walking and I go skiing and
All
some
right.
hot yoga. Mhm.
Cool. What are you reading?
It's so funny. I'm really into Gore Vidal right now, so I'm trying to get through.
Okay.
And I don't want to mispronounce it, but the name of his memoir is called like Palimpsest. So I'm
Mm,
reading that, and I'm also reading. I think it's called 1878 or something, and it's almost like the Gilded Age. Like it's him. It's a novel, fiction
yeah.
novel, but it's set very much in the Gilded Age and like with those characters. So when I miss Gilded Age, which when it's not airing, I've been reading this, and it's giving me Gilded Age vibes because it's about a writer who is
Yeah.
used to be wealthy and now he needs his daughter husband died and left them in debt. So, but she's a princess coming from France because she
Yeah.
married, a prince, but he ended up not having any money. So they're like trying to navigate the social scene so she can be put in the way of eligible bachelors.
All right.
And it's very much that New York Gilded Age time. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
So you like that show? My
Yeah. Oh, and
mother
I'm
loves
reading
Gilded Age.
also Lola Kirk wrote an actress, she's in Sinners. I love Lola Kirk.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
was
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
she wrote it's a collection of short stories about growing up in the West Village.
Oh, cool.
And
So
I
that's
think
gonna
it's
be
called like The
interesting.
Wild Wild West Village or something like that. I
Ah,
just got that and I just started.
all right, that's cool. What are you listening to music wise?
I listen to a lot of classical music
All right.
in the car. I listen to a lot of classical music.
So no Taylor Swift?
I mean, sure. My sons really are into like death metal and these kind of
Oh, that's
metal
great.
stuff.
I love it.
So I sometimes have to listen to that. And then I calm myself with the class. I go right over to like, the best of Yo Yo Ma cello.
death, death metal, and then okay, the classical. That's great. What are you watching right now?
I just finished Industry. I'm devastated it's
Oh man,
over.
I still wait.
Really
That's
bad.
completely over.
No, no, no. It'll have
Oh,
another season, but the
okay.
season ended. Um, I'm like really loving, I know I cast it, but like I'm really
Yeah,
loving The Beauty and Paradise this season.
I
Like
want to watch
really,
that. I
I'm
still haven't
really
watched
loving
that.
both of them. And it's sometimes hard for me to watch something I've cast, but those are sucking me in. And I'm really,
Yeah,
because I've read it a little bit. So I've
yeah, yeah.
read
You
it. So
know,
I
yeah,
know. But this one, it's just such a big swing. Just the sci-fi and like the world building of both of those shows. So
yeah,
I'm able to stay connected even though I know what's gonna happen.
yeah.
And then trying to think what else hmm. I'm watching a lot of British comedies, just like an episode here or there to prepare for Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, that's great. Have you seen any films in the theater that you like? Did you see Wuthering Heights? I haven't seen
Oh
that yet.
yes, I saw Wuthering Heights.
What'd you
How
think
can
of
I
it?
not see it? I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So some people like it, some people hate it. I want to see. I like that director because I like what she did with Saltburn, and I like what she
Yeah.
did with Promising Young Woman. So she has a really interesting style. So I will probably like it.
Yeah,
Like I
I enjoy
love.
it. It's something different. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the traditional Wuthering Heights I used to own. I think I was in high school. I owned 16 years old, the Ray Fiennes, Juliette Binoche version.
Oh
And someone
wow.
taped, and I got it like taped it off HBO, and then someone
Yeah.
taped over it. I still am mad at that person, even though I love them very much. I'm still
Yeah.
mad.
I've had those moments.
So I
There's
feel
so
like
many
I
movies.
have
Yeah.
that version. So I really appreciated this fun, different version.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, that did pretty well. Yeah, The Bride looks really interesting. I'm excited to see what that is. Maggie Gyllenhaal's first film that she's directed.
Is it? Did
Christian,
she do The
I
Lost
th-
Daughter?
yeah, she may have done
No,
that. But
that's
this
great. The Lost Daughter, I think she did. Let me just
The
double
Lost
check.
Daughter. Okay. You got Christian Bale in there. You've got I'm gonna butcher her name, but
Oh wait,
yeah.
she I yes, she did do The Lost Daughter with Olivia Colman and Jesse Buckley and
Okay,
Dakota Johnson.
okay,
Mhm.
so she's worked with Jesse Buckley before. Okay, that's
Mhm. And
great.
Paul Mescal. Mhm.
She
It's
was
really
so
good.
good in that movie, Men. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
I didn't see it, but I'll
It's
write it down.
it's
Check it
it's
out.
an interesting. I thought it was one of the best films about female empowerment that didn't feel so on the nose. I'm sure there's
Mhm.
somebody that probably still hates it, but I liked it. Um, well, how can people reach you if you want them to reach you?
I prefer like DM on Instagram because I
Okay.
don't now I am private, but like I do look and if you write me, you'll
Yeah.
send it to me and I look in there because I know I'm telling people to write me there. So I look in there.
Yeah. It's like you
TLC
don't like
NYC.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the DMF. This has been wonderful. I appreciate your time.
Awesome.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.